In the year 2239, humans were not just living on Earth. They had spread across many planets, building cities in the sky, under oceans, and even on moons. One of the richest planets was Centaurus, known for its glowing towers and peaceful weather. In a tall silver building on Centaurus, a young man named Turin sat in his office, looking at a digital screen. He was only 27 years old, but already one of the richest people in the system. He had created a special AI chip that helped people think faster, remember better, and learn anything in seconds. Because of this invention, he became a millionaire. Before he turned 21. But Turin was not like others. He didn't smile much, he didn't laugh, he didn't trust emotions. People called him the cold genius. He believed feelings only made life difficult. After a bad experience many years ago, Turin stopped believing in love. A girl he once trusted left him when he was struggling. Since then, he only made short agreements with women. He called them friend with benefit contracts, nothing serious. No promises. Just short-term fun and goodbye. He had rules, no emotions, no sharing personal thoughts, and no second chances. One morning, his assistant Mila, a calm and honest woman, walked into his office with a small smile. "Turin, I think you should try something different," she said. "I don't need different. I need efficiency," he replied, not looking away from the screen. She placed a small silver cube on his desk. "This is a blind date invitation. No names, no photos, just a location. 1 hour, 1 meeting." Turin raised an eyebrow. "And why would I waste time on something so random?" Mila leaned forward. "You always talk about logic and strategy. Maybe try something unpredictable, just once." Turin stared at the cube. Then, after a pause, he picked it up. The date was set at Floating Garden Dome 7, a beautiful glass sphere above the clouds, filled with green plants, soft lights, and gentle music. It was usually reserved for peaceful meetings and high-level talks. Turin arrived in his usual black suit, clean and sharp. He didn't smile. He didn't expect anything. For him, it was just another task. Inside the dome, he saw a woman sitting near a blue light fountain. She wore a simple white dress and had calm eyes that seemed to notice everything. She didn't stand up when he came closer. "Are you here for the blind meeting?" Turin asked. She nodded. "Yes." He sat across from her. "I'm Turin, I know," she said softly. Turin tilted his head. "And you are?" "Just Rena," she replied, with a small smile. Unlike others, Rena didn't ask about his money, his fame, or his company. She didn't praise his work or try to impress him. She talked about stars, about how plants respond to music, and about old earth poetry. Turin listened, surprised. She spoke like someone who didn't need anything from him. After some time, he placed a small contract chip on the table. "I usually offer this. It's simple. A short-term companionship, clear benefits, no strings. You can walk away anytime." Rena looked at the chip, then at him. "Is that how you meet people, with contracts?" "It avoids confusion," he said. She gently pushed the chip back toward him. "I didn't come for a deal. I came to meet someone, just for conversation." Turin didn't know how to respond. For the first time, someone had refused his offer. "You're strange," he said. "Maybe you're just too used to being in control," Rena answered. He watched her carefully. There was something about her, something real. Most people smiled. Fake smiles, laughed fake laughs, and tried to get close to him for fame or power. But Rena didn't want anything. She just was. The dome lights dimmed as the sun set, turning the glass walls into a golden mirror. The silence between them wasn't awkward. It was peaceful. "I don't do relationships," Turin said suddenly. "They waste time. People lie. They change. It's better to keep things simple." Rena didn't argue. She just nodded and said, "Then maybe you haven't met the right people yet." Before Turin could reply, she stood up. "Thank you for the conversation. That was all I came for." And just like that, she walked away. Taryn sat alone, confused. Most people would try to stay longer, ask for a gift, or take a picture with him, but Rena didn't even ask for his contact. Back in his office that night, Taryn stared at the chip she had pushed back. Something felt different. He had met many people, but no one had ever said no to him. No one had ever looked at him like he was just a person. He opened his system and searched for Rena, but there was no clear record, just a basic ID with limited access. That was unusual. Very few people could hide their information on Cenerus. His fingers hovered over the keyboard. Who was she really? And why couldn't he stop thinking about her? For 2 days, Taryn could not focus. That had never happened before. The young millionaire, known for his sharp mind and strict discipline, now found himself distracted. During meetings, his mind wandered. During meals, he hardly tasted the food. Even during his evening simulations, when he usually trained his mind with puzzles, he kept remembering Rena's calm voice and soft smile. It bothered him. She didn't act like others. She didn't chase him. She didn't want anything. And most of all, she had refused his offer. He didn't like being refused. Late at night, Taryn sat alone in his sky-level office. The city lights of Cenerus blinked. Below, he opened a hidden system file. It was his private investigation tool, only he had access to it. He typed Rena's name. The screen blinked. Access denied. Classified ID, galactic level protection. Taryn stared. He tried again. Same. Result that no ordinary person had that kind of protection. Only government agents, galaxy envoys, or people from secret programs had such high clearance. This was serious. He leaned back. Who exactly is she? He wondered. The next morning, he called Mila, his assistant. "I want you to find her," Taryn said. Mila raised her eyebrows. "Find who?" "The woman from the blind date, Rena." Mila smiled slightly. "I thought you weren't interested in blind dates." Taryn didn't respond. His eyes said everything. Mila nodded. "I'll see what I can do." 2 days passed. Taryn worked harder to distract himself. He launched a new satellite system, held investor meetings, and checked on his AI chip development. But his mind stayed restless. Finally, Mila returned with a small report. She works part-time at a star museum. It's outside the main city. Very quiet place. No media, no crowd. Taryn didn't wait. He left immediately. The Star History Museum was small and old. It sat on a quiet hill with real trees and flowers, not holograms. People hardly visited such places now. Most preferred digital museums or space view pods. Taryn entered the museum. Inside, he saw models of old spaceships, stories of human migration from Earth, and pictures of ancient stars. And then, in the middle of a glowing hallway, he saw Rena. She was adjusting the light on a solar system display. She looked peaceful, focused, and completely unaware of his presence. Taryn walked closer. "I didn't expect to find you here." Rena turned, surprised. But she didn't smile. "I could say the same." "I searched for you," he admitted. "Your ID is locked." "I know," she replied calmly. "Because it's meant to be." Taryn crossed his arms. "Are you hiding something?" She met his eyes. "Are you?" For a moment, they just stood there. Then Rena stepped aside and pointed to a star chart. "This star," she said, "is from the edge of our galaxy. It's dying slowly, turning cold, but people still look at it and say it's beautiful. Do you know why?" Taryn shook his head. "Because even a dying star gives light." Taryn didn't understand the meaning, but her voice was soft and full of feeling. "I don't understand people like you," he said quietly. "Maybe because you're afraid to feel," Rena answered. Taryn looked away. "Emotions are weak. They slow you down." "No," she said. "They make you human." Silence filled the room. Then Rena asked, Why did you come here? I don't know, he replied honestly. That answer surprised both of them. They walked through the museum. Slowly, Rena showed him old relics, handmade space tools, memory crystals from Mars, and a painting of Earth from 2100. As they walked, she spoke about history, but Tareen watched her more than the displays. Her presence was calm. She didn't rush. She didn't pretend. At one display, Tareen paused. It showed a message capsule sent from Earth to the first space colony on Europa. Moon. The message was only 5 words. We believe in you, always. Tareen read it twice. Someone wrote that to a colony of strangers, he said. That's strange. It's called hope, Rena said gently. People used to give it freely. Tareen nodded slowly. I don't think anyone has ever said those words to me. Rena looked at him quietly. Outside the museum, the sun was setting. The sky turned gold and purple. They stood near the hilltop. Tareen finally asked, Why did you go on that blind date? She smiled softly. To meet someone real. And did you? I'm still not sure, she replied, looking at him with kind eyes. That made him feel something. He didn't know what, but it wasn't cold. It wasn't empty. He reached into his pocket and pulled out the same contract chip. He held it in front of her again. She looked at it, then looked at him. Still offering deals? This time, it's not a deal, he said quietly. It's a question. She didn't take the chip. I don't want promises, she said. But I'll walk beside you for now, Tareen nodded. That was enough. They stood together, watching the stars appear. Back in his shuttle, flying home, Tareen looked out at the dark sky. For the first time in years, his chest felt warm. He didn't know what would happen next. But for the first time, he wanted to find out. 3 days passed since Tareen visited the Star Museum. And yet, his thoughts stayed with Rena. He still went to work. Still met investors. Still signed deals. But inside his mind, there was a quiet storm. He had spent his whole life building walls strong. Cold walls to protect himself from pain, lies, and disappointment. But now, a calm and mysterious woman had stepped inside those walls without permission. Tareen sat alone in his private sky lounge, high above the glowing city of Cinerus. His personal AI named Hex floated nearby. Hex, he said, I want to know everything about Rena. Hex beeped once. Access denied. Her file is sealed under Galactic Peace Council Level 5. Tareen narrowed his eyes. Override security. I have global clearance. I'm sorry, Tareen, Hex replied. Even you can't break council level. Locks. Tareen leaned back. His mind was now racing. Who is she really? She worked in a quiet museum, wore simple clothes, spoke softly. But her ID was protected by one of the highest security systems in the galaxy. Something didn't fit. Later that night, Tareen sent a silent code to one of his old contacts. A man named Doro, once a data smuggler, now a retired ghost in the network. Doro replied within minutes. If her ID is locked at that level, she's not normal. Could be galactic envoy, maybe deep field agent. Be careful. Tareen sat back in his chair. He thought about her words, her calm voice, her knowledge of stars and history. She had not just intelligence, but control. She spoke like someone who had seen more than she admitted. He closed his eyes. Why didn't I see it before? The next day, Tareen received a message from Rena. I hope your visit to the museum gave you something to think about. No smile emoji, no extra words. Just a simple sentence. Tareen replied, Yes, I'd like to see you again. Her reply came 1 hour later. Then meet me where the sky touches the forest. 7 p.m., come alone. At exactly 7 p.m., Tareen's skycar stopped at the edge of the Lumia forest, just outside Cinerus. This place was quiet and untouched, filled with glowing trees and soft fog. He stepped out alone, wearing a dark coat, no guards. No drones. Rena was already there, sitting on a stone bench, her face calm as ever. You came, she said. I always keep my promises, Tarin replied. She stood up and looked at him. Then you're different than most. They walked together into the forest, guided by small blue lights on the trees. The air was fresh, and the silence felt safe. I searched your ID, Tarin finally said. I know, she answered calmly. And? She stopped walking and turned to him. What do you want to know, Tarin? Why I work in a museum, why my file is locked, why I didn't accept your contract. Yes, he said. Rena looked at the stars above, then back at him. I'm not just a museum worker. I'm part of a special division. We protect human knowledge and history. And sometimes we protect people too. Tarin stepped back slightly. Are you spying on me? No, she said. I was assigned to watch over certain minds, important ones. Yours is on the list. Tarin frowned. Why? Because you built something that can change how people think. Your AI chip can upgrade minds, but in the wrong hands, it can also control them. Tarin stayed quiet. She continued, there are alien factions that would do anything to steal it. You don't see them, but they are watching. Some are already here wearing human faces. Tarin tried to understand. And you're here to stop them? Rena nodded. Yes, quietly, without panic, without media noise. Tarin felt a chill. Not fear, but something heavier. And I'm just part of your mission? He asked. Rena looked into his eyes. No, you were the mission. But now, it's more than that. Tarin didn't speak. The fog moved gently around them like a slow wave. You said before that emotions are a weakness, she said. But sometimes, caring about someone is what gives us the strength to fight. Tarin nodded slowly. He had spent so long running from feelings, hiding behind logic. But now he was standing in a forest, in front of a woman who had risked her safety to protect him. I don't know how to feel about all this, he said. You don't have to decide now, Rena replied. Just know this, someone wants your mind. Not because of who you are, but because of what you've made. Suddenly, they heard a sharp sound, a strange clicking echo coming from the trees. Rena's expression changed. They found us. Who? Tarin asked quickly. But before she could answer, a tall shadow appeared behind the trees. Then another. And another. 3 figures stepped out. Their skin glowed faintly blue. Their eyes were bright red. They wore long coats, but their movements were not human. They're Drakari, Rena whispered. Alien thieves, mind hunters. Tarin's heart raced. What do they want? You, the Drakari leader, stepped forward. We don't want your body, human. We want your thoughts. Rena pushed Tarin behind her and activated a small silver disc. A bright shield formed in front of them. Run! She shouted. But Tarin didn't move. For the first time in his life, he didn't want to run. He grabbed a fallen metal stick and stood beside her. Rena looked at him, surprised. You're not built for this. Maybe not, he said. But I'm done hiding behind contracts. The Drakari charged out, and for the first time, Tarin fought, not for power, not for business, but to protect something real. The forest was no longer silent. Strange red lights flashed between the trees. The glowing eyes of the Drakari lit up the shadows. They moved like smoke, fast, quiet, deadly. Tarin gripped the metal stick tightly, standing beside Rena, who held a small round shield in one hand and a pulse blaster in the other. Stay close to me, she said, her voice calm but serious. Tarin nodded. His heart was beating fast, but his mind was sharp. He had faced business rivals, hackers, and threats to his company before, but this was different. This was life or death. The 3 Drakari stepped forward. They spoke in a language that didn't sound natural. It was full of sharp tones and strange echoes. They are warning us, Rena whispered. They want your brain data. Not to copy it, but to take it. How can they do that? Tarin asked. Your AI chip connects to your brain, she said. They have stolen tech that can pull thoughts directly, memories, knowledge, everything. Tarin felt cold. That chip had made him rich. It had made others smarter. But now it had made him a target. The lead Drakari raised its hand. A dark, red pulse flew through the air, hitting Rena's shield. The energy bounced off, burning a tree nearby. No more talking, Rena said. She shot back, her blaster glowing blue. The battle started. Rena moved like a trained warrior. She rolled, ducked, and fired with perfect aim. Her blaster didn't miss, but the Drakari were fast too. They split apart, moving in circles, trying to trap them. Tarin wasn't a soldier. But he wasn't weak either. He used his mind. He picked up a stone and threw it toward one Drakari. The alien turned, and in that second, Rena blasted it in the chest. It fell shaking, then vanished in a flash of red sparks. That's one down, she said. 2 to go, Tarin replied, breathing hard. Suddenly, one Drakari rushed at them from the side. It was almost invisible, like a blur. Rena turned too. Late, Tarin jumped forward and swung the metal stick with all his strength. It hit the creature's leg. The Drakari hissed and stumbled. Rena fired again, this time hitting the neck. The creature collapsed. You saved me, she said, surprised. I just reacted, Tarin said. No time to think. One more, Rena said, scanning the area. But the last Drakari was gone. The forest was quiet again. Did it run? Tarin asked. No, she replied. It's watching, waiting. She turned to him. We can't. Stay here. They ran through the forest, guided by a hidden tracker in Rena's bracelet. After 5 minutes, they reached a small black pod. Hidden behind thick leaves. It opened with a soft beep. Get in. Rena ordered. Inside. The pod had only 2 seats and a control screen. Rena jumped into the pilot's seat. Tarin sat beside her. Strapping in. Where are we going? He asked. A safe zone. No signals. No tracking. The pod lifted off silently and flew through the trees, disappearing into the clouds. 20 minutes later, they landed on a small floating platform above the ocean. The sky was dark. Waves crashed below. Inside a hidden dome, Rena activated security. Shields. The area became protected with energy walls, invisible but strong. Tarin finally sat down. Breathing deeply, Rena placed her weapons on a table and removed her bracelet. We're safe for now, Tarin looked at her. So, this is who you really are, Rena nodded. Yes, I'm an agent for the Galactic Peace Council. I don't just work in museums. That's my cover. He stared at her for a moment. You risked your life for me. Not just for you, she said. For your mind, for what you created. Tarin looked down. I didn't know it could be used like that. I made it to help people, not control them. Rena walked closer. The chip is powerful. It can upgrade memory, yes. But in the wrong hands, it can erase thoughts, rewrite memories, and change who a person is. Tarin felt heavy inside. I thought I was changing the world. You are, she said. But now you need to protect that change. He looked up. I want to help. I don't want to hide anymore. Rena gave a small smile. You've already helped. Back therein. The forest, you didn't run. You stood with me, Tarin nodded. I'm not the same person I was before. You made me question everything. She sat beside him. That's what friends do. He looked at her. Is that what we are? Friends? She thought for a moment. More than strangers. Less than promises, but something real. They sat quietly. Outside, the stars reflected in the ocean below. Later, Tarin stood near the glass wall, looking at the stars. I used to think emotions were useless, he said, that they slowed down logic. Rena joined him. Emotions are like gravity. You can't see them, but they keep you grounded. He smiled a little. I've never met anyone like you. I've met people like you before, she said. But most of them don't change. You did. Tareen turned to her. What happens next? She looked serious. The Drakari won't stop. They'll come again, stronger. They may even attack your company. Then I need to prepare, he said. Not just with weapons, but with people, with truth. He stepped closer. Stay with me. Help me fight back. Rena looked at him for a long moment, then nodded. All right. But we do it my way. Tareen extended his hand. No contracts, he said. Just trust. She took his hand. Deal. That night, while the ocean sang below, two very different people stood side by side, one who had everything but trust, and one who had nothing but truth. The real war was coming, but they were no longer alone. The next morning, the sky above Sonorous was bright, but Tareen's mind was focused like never before. He stood on the balcony of his private office, overlooking the floating city. This time, he didn't see his empire of glass towers and digital screens as a symbol of success. Now he saw how unprotected it all really was. The Drakari could return any moment. And if they came again, they wouldn't just be hunting him. They would go after everything he had built and everyone working for him. Inside, Rena was checking security codes on her data pad. She looked calm as usual, but Tareen knew she was preparing for war. They'll come soon, she said. They won't stop until they get your mind chip design. You're not just a target, you're a key to control millions, Tareen nodded. Then it's time I stop being just a builder. It's time I become a protector. Later that day, Tareen called a meeting with his top engineers, system heads, and security leaders. They sat in a round glass room high in the sky. The meeting was private, no media, no public stream. Tareen stood at the center. I've always told you to work fast, to make profit, and to stay ahead of our competitors, he said. But now we face something more dangerous than business rivals. He paused and looked around the room. Aliens are among us. They don't want to compete with us, they want to control us. They want to use our technology to break our minds and take our future. Everyone stared in shock. Some didn't believe him. But he didn't stop. This is Rena, he continued, pointing to her. She's not just my guest. She's a galactic agent. She saved my life. And now she's going to help us save this city. Rena stepped forward and projected a small hologram. It showed the image of a Drakari warrior, the same type that attacked them in the forest. This is your enemy, she said. They're already here. They look human, but they're not. They can steal your memories, your knowledge, even your identity. Whispers filled the room. Turing raised his hand. That's why I've decided to change the direction of our company. From today, we're no longer just building tools for learning and comfort. We're building systems to protect human minds. We're upgrading every chip, every AI, every firewall. He looked serious now. This is not about money anymore. This is about survival. The next few days were the busiest Tareen had ever seen. Under Rena's guidance, a secret lab was built beneath the city. Only trusted team members had access. They called it Project Shieldmine. There, engineers worked day and night on new versions of the AI chip, ones that couldn't be hacked or stolen. Rena brought in off-world tech, invisible scanners, truth layer drones, and personal defense gloves. Tareen himself led the coding team. He stayed up late, ate less, and barely slept. But he felt alive. He was no longer hiding from the world. He was standing up for it. One evening, after a long work session, Tareen stepped onto the balcony of the secret lab. The stars above Sonorous were clear. Rena joined him, holding 2 warm drinks. You've changed, she said. Is that good or bad? He asked with a smile. She handed him a cup. It's real. He sipped the drink. It tasted simple, like the kind his mother used to make when he was young. A memory flashed in his mind, a small house, laughter, sunlight. He hadn't thought of those things in years. I used to think feelings made people weak, he said quietly. But now I see. They make us human. Rena looked at him. Feelings can break you, but they can also build you back stronger. Tarin nodded. I was broken once. I didn't trust anyone. I didn't even trust myself. And now? She asked. He looked at her. Now ... I trust you. Rena didn't speak, but the warmth in her eyes said everything. The next day, Rena brought news. There's movement near the outer communication towers, she said. I believe the Drakari are planning to break in and send your data off-world. Tarin stood up. Then we stop them, Rena smiled. I thought you'd say that. That night, a small team of 6, including Tarin and Rena, flew in a silent black craft toward the outer towers of Cinerus. The towers were tall structures that connected the planet's information system to the galaxy. If hacked, they could send human data to any planet. As they landed near Tower 7, Rena gave the signal. Stay sharp. We don't shoot unless they do. We need proof. Tarin checked his defense gloves. They weren't weapons, they were energy blockers, designed to stop brain scans. They entered the tower quietly. Inside, the lights were off. The air felt wrong, heavy. Then, a voice echoed from the shadows. You shouldn't have interfered. A tall figure stepped into the light, human face. But not human eyes. Behind him, 2 more shapes appeared. Rena's voice was cold. Drakari. The leader smiled. You delayed us, but it's too late. The download has started. Tarin stepped forward. Not if I shut it down. He pulled out a small chip from his pocket, a self-locking code he'd created just for this moment. He ran to the control panel and inserted it. The Drakari moved fast, but Rena and the others blocked them. A short fight began, quiet, fast, intense. No screams. Only quick movement, sparks, and light flashes. Tarin watched the screen. Progress. 98%, 99%. He pressed the final button. Download failed. He turned. It's done. The Drakari leader screamed in rage, but before he could attack, Rena hit him with a stun pulse. He dropped to the ground. The others vanished. The tower was safe. Back at the lab, the team cheered softly. The threat was stopped for now. Rena looked at Tarin. You did more than I expected. Tarin smiled. You helped me remember what really matters. He looked at his people, his city, the stars above. I'm not just a millionaire anymore, he said. No, Rena replied. You're something more. The city of Cinerus slept peacefully under a glowing night sky. But inside Tarin's hidden lab, the air was heavy with urgency. News had arrived. A small human colony on Lunarus 6, a far-off moon planet, had gone silent. No messages, no trade signals, and no signs of life for over 48 hours. Rena stood at the center of the control room, watching the last message that came from the colony, a blurry video of people running, shadows moving fast, and a strange red light in the sky. It's the Drakari, she said. I've seen this before. Tarin, now dressed in dark tactical gear, stepped forward. They're testing their attack strategy. If Lunarus 6 falls, Cinerus could be next, Rena nodded. We have to go there. Fast, if even one Drakari ship escapes with data or captures humans with your chip installed, everything we've done will be useless. Tarin didn't hesitate. Then we leave now. 2 hours later, a fast-class stealth ship left Cinerus. Inside were Rena, Tarin, and 3 skilled agents from the Peace Council. The journey to Lunarus 6 took only 6 hours through a private worm line. Tarin had once built that same travel path for wealthy tourists. Now it was being used to reach a battlefield. As the ship entered Lunarus 6's orbit, the moon looked quiet, too quiet. The colony lights were off. The buildings looked empty. The sky above was cloudy and red. Prepare for ground scan, Rena said. Taring moved to the side panel and activated the scanner. Life signals. Weak, he said. Only a few humans alive. They must be hiding, Rena replied. She looked at Taring. You don't have to come down. This will be dangerous. I didn't come all this way to watch from above, Taring said. Let's finish this, together. They landed near the old colony tower. The air was cold, the ground full of dust. The team moved quickly through the silent streets, weapons ready. Suddenly, from behind a broken building, a small voice whispered, "Help." Rena rushed over and found a young girl hiding behind a wall. Her face was pale, and her eyes filled with fear. "It's okay," Rena said softly. "We're here to help." The girl pointed toward the main building. "They're inside. The monsters. They took my parents." Taring clenched his fists. "We're stopping this now." The group entered the colony center. Inside, the lights flickered, and the walls had strange symbols, Drakari language. Suddenly, a voice echoed through the hallway. "Welcome, Taring." It was the same voice they had heard in Senaris Tower. "You're famous now," the voice said. "Your chip is our future. Your mind is our goal." Taring stepped forward. "You can't have it. And I'm not afraid of you anymore." 3. Drakari appeared from the shadows. One of them was larger than any they had seen before. Its body was half alien, half metal, with red circuits running through its skin. "You can't win," the creature said. "Even if you destroy us here, more will come. You created the tool. That means your kind will always be hunted." Rena raised her blaster. "We'll fight, every time." A battle broke out. Rena and the agents fired quickly, using shield pulses and smart bombs. Taring moved carefully, using his defense gloves to block energy attacks. The giant Drakari charged toward Taring. Rena shouted, "Watch out!" But Taring stood firm. As the creature attacked, Taring activated a device on his belt, a new chip code he had built in secret. It sent a shockwave through the air, targeting the Drakari's brainwaves. The giant froze, screamed, and fell. Taring breathed hard. That was a one-time pulse. "Took me all night to code it," Rena smiled. "Perfect timing." After the fight, the team rescued the remaining humans and destroyed the Drakari base. They sent a full report to the Galactic Council and placed a lockdown on the planet to prevent future attacks. On the way back to Senaris, the ship was quiet. Everyone was tired, but the mission had been a success. Taring sat beside Rena, looking out the window at the stars. "I used to think helping people meant giving them tools," he said. "Now I know it also means standing beside them." Rena nodded. "Sometimes presence is more powerful than invention." He looked at her. "You've changed me." "You changed yourself," she replied. "I only showed you the mirror." Taring smiled. "You think the war is over?" She shook her head. "Not yet. But we've started something important. And others will join." He held her hand gently. "Then let's keep going." Back on Senaris, news spread across networks. People now knew about the alien threat. Fear rose, but so did hope. Taring made a public speech. He stood before millions. Not as a cold businessman, but as someone who had fought and protected. "Technology is powerful," he said. "But without care, it can be dangerous. We must build with wisdom and defend with unity." People listened. People believed. From that day, Taring wasn't just a name in business. He became a symbol of courage, of change, of standing up for humanity. And beside him, always quiet but always strong, stood Rena. That night, they returned to the Garden Dome where their blind date first happened. No guards, no mission, just peace. Taring looked at the stars. "When I first met you, I thought I just wanted something simple. No feelings, no future," Rena smiled. "And now?" "Now I want everything," he said. "Not just benefits. I want truth. I want connection. I want you." She looked at him and said softly, "Then stop talking and walk beside me." They walked slowly through the glowing flowers, side by side, no contracts, no fear, only understanding. And for the first time in his life, Tarin didn't feel alone. The morning sun touched the silver towers of Senaris, painting the city in soft gold. After weeks of battle and fear, the city was calm again. For the first time in a long time, people walked freely on the streets, and children laughed in the parks. At Minecore Industries, Tarin sat in his office, but today was different. His usual cold calm was mixed with something new, a quiet hope. Beside him stood Rena, calm and steady, her presence comforting like a warm light. "It feels strange," Tarin said softly, "to be here without worrying about enemies or secrets." Rena smiled. "You've earned this peace. You fought for it." He looked at her. "I used to believe that people were too weak, that feelings only made life harder. But now I see. Feelings are the strongest things we have." Rena reached out and took his hand. "You're not cold anymore, Tarin. You're just real." In the weeks after the Lunaris 6 mission, the galaxy began to change. Governments worked together to protect human colonies. New rules were made to keep technology safe. And the story of Tarin and Rena's fight against the Drakari inspired many. Tarin became a leader, not just in business but in heart. He used his intelligence to build bridges between worlds, between people. One day, a meeting was held in the Grand Hall of Senaris. Leaders from many planets gathered to honor the new peace agreements. Tarin stood at the front. He spoke clearly, without arrogance or fear. Technology can build a better future, but only if we remember to care for each other. We must be united, not divided. Applause filled the room. Rena watched him proudly. He had changed from the cold young millionaire to a man who understood strength was more than money or power. It was trust and love. That evening, back at Minecore, Rena and Tarin sat on the rooftop garden. The city lights twinkled like stars. Below them, Tarin looked at her, nervous but honest. "Rena," he began, "when we first met, I didn't want anything serious. I wanted a simple friend with benefit. No feelings, no ties." She smiled softly. "And now, I want everything. I want to build a life with you. Not because I'm afraid or lonely. Because I believe in us." Rena's eyes shone. "I've waited a long time to hear that." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small silver band. It was simple but elegant, with a tiny star etched on it. "Will you walk with me? Not just for battles or business, but for life." Tears came to her eyes. She nodded, smiling through them. Double quotes, "Yes, I will." Days later, friends and allies gathered in a quiet garden beneath the stars. No fancy parties, no big crowds, just people who cared. Tarin and Rena stood side by side. They exchanged their vows in simple words, promising honesty, trust, and support. The stars above seemed to shine brighter that night. Life was not always easy. There were challenges and hard days. But together, Tarin and Rena faced everything. With courage. Their love wasn't just about romance, it was about partnership, respect, and growing stronger together. Tarin continued to lead Minecore, creating new ways to protect minds and hearts. Rena became a teacher and protector, helping others find their own strength. One evening, years later, Tarin and Rena stood once again in the garden dome where it all began. They looked at the stars, their hands intertwined. "Do you remember our first blind date?" Tarin asked, smiling. Rena laughed softly. "How could I forget? You were so cold and sure you didn't want anything real. And now?" he said, squeezing her hand. "Now I can't imagine life without you." They kissed gently, knowing that their journey was not over, but whatever came next, they would face it together. In a galaxy filled with stars and dangers, two people found something rare and true. Not just survival, or power, or business, but love. And that made all the difference.